about, Miss Johnson. It is up to us to preserve our history. So, Black Heritage Society does have a lot of these banded books here in our office. Of course, we are looking for a museum to display these books as well as have story time because it is important to us to preserve our culture, our history. So we thank you and for many others like you. It is my duty, responsibility, I feel, to share with our community, everyday people, what we have, what can make our world a better place. And we thank our leaders like Mickey Leland, Ovite Duncantail, Representative Al Edwards, Curtis Gray, and we want to do a shout out for Tanya DeBose. She just passed away, and they're going to be funeralizing her. So our heart goes out to the family. She was interviewed here at Black Heritage Society. We also represented John Bland. You talked about him. Clark Cummings Jr. So we have a lot of history right here in Houston, Texas. And again, just as you said, Wayne Johnson, that Houston is one of the diverse city in the U.S. We are really moving to the third largest city, but they still say in the fourth, and we're excited about all of our history. We will be having Ralph Cooper, the sports announcer. He's going to be calling in as well. Hopefully he does make it. We've been having some technology trouble today, so bear with us as we move forward. But Ralph Cooper, the sports announcer, he was also inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. So we Sports Announcer Hall of Fame. So he will be calling in and giving us a little history, as well as talking about what's going on in radio, TV now here in under this new president, Donald Trump. So thank you for sharing. Do not think that no, it's not taboo. We need all of that history so that we can better prepare ourselves because we know that the world is changing. Now we know that Black History Month 2025, our theme focus on the way that work and working all kinds, free and unfree, skilled and unskilled, vocational and voluntary, intersect with the collective experience of Black people. So the U.S., we've been celebrating Black History Month for a long time, but I say Black history truly is every day for me. And I hope for you too. So let us continue in this conversation of Black history. Just so we know, a lot of people think about when was the Civil Rights Act passed. Ms. Johnson, or either Wayne Johnson, when was the Civil Rights Act passed? Many people, we talk about it all the time, but do we actually know when the Civil Rights Act was passed?
Civil Rights Act in 1964.
1964.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, and that's real important. And a lot of people, we want to think about which ended, the Civil Rights Act ended segregation in public places and banned employments from discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So, and here we are now, they're gutting out part of the 14th Amendment with the DEI. So how does that make us feel today? Ms. Johnson, you just talked about that, all these different topics we want to talk about here for the community, but how does that make us feel today, knowing that the DEI, the Civil Rights Act, the 14th Amendment, that they're gutting these laws These are laws that created to create stability for African Americans and other immigrants. You know, we're not the only ones that benefit from having these laws put in place. How do you feel about that, Ms. Johnson? If you don't mind sharing with us on the other immigrants and all the benefits that we've had with the Civil Rights Act, the 14th Amendment.
I was gonna say it's disturbing to me, but it's something that we need to get straight here. Affirmative action, all of this comes to DI, it was affirmative action, and that was created so that minorities and black people in particular would have equal opportunity to the economic process. But what people are not realizing is that when the affirmative action legislature was passed, that the white supremacists made sure that the white woman was also a minority. Oh, you look at this. We're trying to gain access to these economic opportunities, and the white woman becomes a minority. Well, all her husband had to do, he was over the company, all he had to do was step down and put her in that place. And we had the same situation. We still couldn't get the contracts because the white woman was a minority. And those persons that they called that were the minorities during the affirmative action time are now called the DEIs. So then we have transposed the same situation because most of the contracts and the jobs that go to the DEIs are for white women. So they are not looking at that. They don't realize that when they get rid of the DEIs, most of them, 70% of those contracts have gone to white women. So when they cut out those DEI contracts, they're cutting out the contracts for the white women. So it's misinformation all the way around, and yes, we're going to hurt, but we weren't getting the larger contracts anyway. Maybe one or two of us did. And we need to, again, in order for us to get the larger contracts, we would have to actually combine. But the whole thing goes back to we as a nation within a nation cannot practice the same way the oppressor does. We have to have a different approach. We can't, they're not going to just let us, we can't go in just one-on-one trying to get these big contracts. We have to combine, we have to coalesce, we have to come up with corporations. Instead of being competitive, we're going to have to be cooperative. We're going to have to use a different approach. But back to what you said on the DEIs, yes, it upsets me about the DEIs, but I know that they are going to be shocked when they find out that a lot of these DEIs that they're relieving of their duties are going to be white women. They're going to be losing these contracts. So a tsunami is coming. A social tsunami is on its way because they have not really understood exactly what's going on. So it's just like on the welfare. They're thinking that black people comprise the largest larger percentage of them, but it's white people. So it's percentage-wise, they're saying that a disproportionate number of us access these services. but it's white people,
Yeah.
who are the ones who get most of these services. So yes, it's one of those situations where we're going to have to become activists. We're going to have to go, we're going to have to organize, and we're going to have to protest. But we also need to be realistic about what we're dealing with here.
Yes.
And we have to know what's really going on. We have to know for ourselves. Yeah, they're coming after us, but they can't get us without getting some of them. So,
Make a short note that it also affect those with disabilities too as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Disabilities as part of our health, our education, all of those factors are into the DEI. So there's a lot of information that's misinformation, and we're gonna give Wayne a chance. You know, that's what we're doing is guarding against, and we have that on our Facebook page as well, to guard against misinformation, twisted truth, lies, lawlessness, manipulation, as well as the poverty. So those are things that we, as a race of people, need to read, to do research, to seek out more information, advocacy, ask questions, talk to people that may have more information than what you would have in your resource. So that's some of the things I practice, and as we are here, everyday people, we want to practice. Go to the experts. It's okay if I'm sick. I don't try to. If I'm really feeling bad, and I may do my little home remedies, but if I'm sick, I want to go to the experts. So let us all, do diligent to make this world a better place for all of us, and use those people. Wayne, can you share with us, Mr. Wayne Johnson?
Sure. This is Wayne Johnson again. A moment ago, my distinguished aunt, she mentioned the name Mickey Leland. Now, growing up in historical Fifth Ward as a little boy, when you were a little boy, you had heroes. It was either Bob Hayes playing football, and people of that nature, Alvin Hayes playing basketball. But believe it or not, Mickey Leland was one of my heroes. I followed the social path because of him, and acquired my degree in sociology because of Mickey Leland. So his name was mentioned a moment ago, and I sit here and I reflect. Now, Mickey Leland lost his life on a plane crash. He was delivering food to Africa. Now, fast forward 40, 50 years later, give or take, I made 7 trips to Africa, and I can tell you, in terms of the DEI and USAID, and one of my experiences are these things that, and this old saying, you can't tell me what you heard, I can share with you what I experienced. My second day in Africa, somewhere September 2022, and at that time I had a guide. That would drive me around to show me the place because I had no idea where I was, and I studied the customs somewhat upon arriving in Dar es Salaam. That's spelled D-A-R-E-S, Salam, S-A-L-A-A-M. So just the name tells me that there's some Muslim perspective there. And there are a great many customs in the Muslim faith. Women would have to wear a hijab. A hijab is what we would look at here is a headscarf. It's criminal not to. You can be stoned, you can be beat with a stick, but in modern day times, someone would approach you and say, ma'am, hey, he would point out to you that you need to put this headscarf, hijab, on. So one night, myself and my driver, my guide, we were exiting a restaurant, probably 9 p.m. It's dark, beautiful place, but in certain places you don't have the traditional street lights and things of that nature. And you're right at the Indian Ocean. You can think of the East Coast, West Coast here, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. This is the historical Indian Ocean. We walk out of the restaurant, and out of nowhere, about 40 little boys just came out of nowhere with shorts on, no shirts. Now, This is a tropical climate. It's been 90-some degrees, so it's not cold. It doesn't get cold there. So I asked my driver, where are these boys' parents? Where are they coming from? And he just physically took his hand and just pointed. He pointed out in the dark. And I looked, I said, where? I didn't see a house. I didn't see a community center. I didn't see a food bank. I didn't see a YMCA. It was an ocean. And I said, well, where do they live? They live here. And I said, where? He just pointed out an open space. And so myself, being a humanitarian and just my heart just went out to those little boys. I went back in the restaurant and I took some of the money I had and I was trying to convert American dollars into shillings from the British system. The British colonized Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And I was able to get what I attribute to like $1 bills or whatever. And I, $40, $50, $60, I gave all the kids $1. And I asked them, why won't the restaurant feed them? No, they won't do that because they'll come back every day. I said, what about the government? There's no social studies, no social services, no entity set up to feed the kids. I said, well, how do they survive? They just do. They panhandle. Now, I grew up historically Fifth Ward, grew up poor, but never hungry. Never hungry. Grew up poor, but never hungry. These kids had no residence, nowhere to live. I'm assuming no medical care, no food bank, no social entities that would just feed them the next day. And so my heart went out to those guys. So when we talk about DEI and associate USAID, USAID is over there digging wells. They had a smallpox situation probably several years ago. USAID was instrumental in getting the Africans the necessary medicine. Now this country was only formed or got their independence in 1961. So they're still in the process of trying to build a country. So I thought about Mickey Leland, his travels to feed the kids. And then I've had some critics will say, well, why would you go over there and feed kids when we have kids that are over here hungry? I grew up poor, but never hungry. Never. 40, 50 kids came out of the darkness. They didn't have a residence. They have nowhere to live. They didn't have a shirt on their back, no shoes, and they were hungry. So when we have billionaires over here that go home and eat steak, salad, and in the United States, and they're talking about canceling or interrupting the aid that recently, just a week or two ago, was sitting at the port in the refrigeration, spoiling. There was food here at the docks in Houston that was supposed to be going to Africa, and it was sitting there because the judges and the executives and administrators and things, they were just fighting over this DEI situation. So I can tell you what I witnessed, not what I heard. Little boys, nowhere to live, no food. The poverty over there it's ridiculous. I've seen poverty here, but it's what can a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid do for himself? His mind is not developed, his body's not developed where he can go out and work, and they have zero. So here we are, okay, here we are, a country with great wealth, and we're talking about counseling USAID and DUI for our brothers and sisters that look like me. Just sharing a story, Africa.
Thank you for sharing. At this time, I'd like to let you all know that we do have Mr. Ralph Cooper. He's on the phone with us. He's going to join the conversation. And I just wanted, he is also a historian for Black Heritage. He's like my mentor. He has been helping us since I started with the Black Heritage Society. So we're elated to have him. I'm elated to have him on our advisory council. He does a lot for the Black Heritage Society. He also does a lot in the community. I present to y'all Ralph Cooper.
Well, thank you. I'm really touched by the kind introduction you gave me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good. Would you go ahead and share with us, Mr. Cooper, your, let's see, your assessment of Black History Month? I say it's every day for me, but also how is Black history being treated, or how do you feel in the TV, the radio department with this new president, and the effects, if you have shared any with the DEI changes? How do you feel about? Just share with us your experience at this time.
My experience at this time is that unlike you, to some of us, every day is Black History Day. We live it every day, and we try to share messages with people about our experiences and some of the experiences others shared with us in regards to Black history. But what I found out today, I know people are concerned about the president and his sidekick and the little sidekick, the son of the sidekick at this time. But Black history is being abused by Black people. They don't really want the history. Black people don't really want their own history. They run from it. It's free now. All you have to do is listen to programs like this one you have here, get on the internet, go to social media. You can pull up anything you want to pull up. And the thing about it is, it's being made every day. Autumn Lockwood just made Black History this past weekend. Autumn Lockwood coaches for the Philadelphia Eagle football team. She's the first Black female to win a Super Bowl championship as a coach. So every day we're making history as we go along. But again, from what I'm hearing, even with Kendrick Lamar, people are all caught up with Kendrick Lamar. But now, that was Sunday. What are you going to do now that that's all over? And you have a chance to take that even further, take his message even further in regards to learning your own history. I hope I'm making a little sense, but I blame us. Nobody's keeping you from reading a book. Our ancestors came here, their languages, they couldn't speak their languages to each other. They were forbidden to do that. They were forced to learn English. They had their names changed. They couldn't read. It was against the law to read or write. And here we are in 2025, and we are lazy and sorry, and we don't want to read. We don't want to open up the books. We don't want to open up the social media and find out who we really are. That's where I am at this point this morning.
Wow, that's great that you're sharing that with us. You do hear where a lot of people appear to be ashamed of their history, and we have so many great accomplishments by African Americans. How do we get past that? How do we move past that?
We have to keep pushing. Those of us who know the history and we share it, we cannot let these numbskulls, the ones who don't want to learn the history, we cannot let them hold us back. Now, another good history lesson that they're about to get here very shortly, that 21% of the Black males who voted for Trump for president, who refused to vote for a woman who looked like their moms in most cases, they're going to get a good lesson here very shortly in regards to why they should have supported someone who looked like their mother, in my opinion. We had the lesser of two evils. They can come up with every kind of excuse they want to do, but you see what's happening right now. I mean, you go back and you read history, you will see that the grabbing of land, the changing of the laws, the taking of monies from people who are in dire needs of the monies in regards to their programs. You see it not just in this country, but all over the world, the impact of it. And again, some of them came up with all kinds of excuses. I listen to them in the barbershops and the bars, the clubs, and on the streets or whatever. I'm talking about the young Black males who are younger than me, who said they couldn't vote for a woman who looked like their mother, for various reasons. And now you see the consequences of it. Inflation is up 3%. Eggs have gone up. Food is. Just tell them to look at the table. Go into the store and look at what the prices are, and then go home and look at what you're putting on your table.
Well, those are words of wisdom, and just before with you sharing all that information, just go ahead and share with the community. You were inaugurated or presented or put into a Hall of Fame, and let them know your history and the contribution that you've made to America as well, sir.
Well, I've been blessed. I've been around some great individuals who helped me over the years. Which, your parents, my mother and father, the greatest gift they gave to me, other than birth, was getting me out of the north. They left Texas and went up to Des Moines, Iowa, to Chicago, to Springfield, Illinois, and my little black behind was cold as hell. Although I was just a tot, it was so cold. I still remember it. I can't thank my parents enough from getting out of Iowa, getting out of Michigan, getting out of Chicago, getting out of Illinois, and coming back to Texas and landing me here, where I've been touched by many, many, many great people, and continue to be touched by great people. And the thing about it is, we have to acknowledge the people. One of the things many young people think it just started with them. It didn't start with Kendrick Lamar. You had people rapping long before Kendrick Lamar. Go back and look up the name Rudy Ray Moore if you're young out there. If you're an old guy, an older person, hey, you know who I'm talking about. Rudy Ray Moore and the rapping that he did back in the day. He couldn't have done it at a Super Bowl, of course, once he cleaned his act up, but he was rapping. That's hard. And he let them know he was rapping. And he called himself the king of the rappers. So, we have, like I said, we have to share with them. Although I beat up on them a little bit, and I beat up on people in their 40s and 50s also because they don't share the history that they know. We have to share the history. A man was celebrated this past weekend. He worked at the Houston Chronicle newspaper when I was in elementary school. I remember reading his byline and never thinking that I saw his name in the paper in a daily white newspaper, the Houston Chronicle. I never thought I would meet the man because I wasn't thinking about what I was going to end up doing at that particular time. Even when I got older, I never thought, and I was still reading them, writing about Yates, Wheatley, Texas Southern, Prairie View, Grambling, etc. I never thought I would meet him, and then I ended up meeting him because I got into sports and broadcasting and reporting, etc. And so I go to his celebration of life this weekend. It's in Fourth Ward, a part of one of the birthplaces of blacks in Houston. Fourth Ward at Mount Zion Church, right near Gregory, where the Gregory Library, where Gregory School was at one time. And the place is packed on a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock with his church people, with the people that knew him because of church. They didn't really know of his impact in sports and writing, etc. And luckily, two of us from who were in the sports arena showed up. Me and Mr. Earl Jemison from the Touchdown Club of Houston. He's the president. He's black. The two of us showed up and spoke. And what we learned also, we didn't know it was that's why I say we have to share the history. We have to be around each other. We learned from that church, which was standing room only, of his impact in his church and his community. What we had an impact on us was in sports. What we shared with them was the impact that he had on us. So everybody ended up winning that particular day in the celebration of Ellis Johnson Sr.'s funeral services celebration this past weekend. So we have to continue to do that kind of stuff. Duncan Taylor.
Yes.
I can remember when they were about to put Duncan Taylor was on the corner of Belford and Ferdinand Street, right by Crispus Attic School one day. And they know who Duncan Taylor is, of course, I think. And so Mr. Duncan Taylor was making a protest in regards to the apartment complex he stayed in regards to upkeep and etc. And they had he had been told that they were going to put him out or whatever, but he was there with his rifle with a white handkerchief on it, and I pulled up and I sat out there with him for 2 hours before I realized, hey, anything can happen out here. But you learn a lot about the individual also is what I'm saying. He shared his history while we sit out there talking, and you understood why he ended up doing some of the things he did in regards to the Black Heritage Society parade and the mountains, the MLK Mountain Deer Award that you all give away, give to different people who are so hard and they don't want it.
We agree, and we wanna thank you for, introducing, inviting us, and letting us get to know our, co-grand marshal this just, the 47th, parade, Martin Luther King original parade, so Nate Griffin, so, we just appreciate all that you do for the Black Heritage Society, and definitely keep us in the forefront. I know that you're doing this because of your friend, the late Ovite Duncan Tell, Miss Helen Johnson, and Willa Vital, and all the rest. So we do appreciate everything.
And one thing I want to give them credit, they're warriors. Those people that you just named are warriors. And again, those of us who are still able to do things physically and mentally, we have to do a check on ourselves in regards to sharing information. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Let's continue to share. Thank you for calling in Black History Month. Ms. Johnson, you want to say something to your friend?
Well, Ralph, and thank you so much for supporting us, and Nate Griffin was just ideal for us. Thank you again.
Well, his head is bigger now than ever before. And I blame the two of you. I blame the Black Heritage Society. When his head being as big, it was already big. But now you can't even get
Well,
an LBJ on his head.
well, he came through with flying colors. Needless to say, we were. Thank you, and we'll talk again, sir.
Bye-bye.
Okay, keep up the great work, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Brewer, I'll never be able to live this down if I don't mention the girl that was raised up on the next street from me in Fort Ward. Beautiful girl, one of the prettiest girls that you ever seen in your life. I was older than she. Her name was Synfronia Thompson. And she's now a state representative, Synfronia Thompson. And Synfronia is a women's rights advocate. And she was able to help some lady that was about to lose their land years ago, and she was able to save that land. They were about to take the land. She's an attorney. She's a fantastic person, and I've been trying to get her with us. I need to mention Synfronia among those great Houstonians, and Dr. Hortense Dixon was another one. Dr. Hortense Dixon served there under Fred Hawfines, and he was the mayor. And she went on to she was from Texas Southern University. She was one of the professors there at Texas Southern University, and was over a program